Commander Kalenvar leaned back in his command chair, stretching his long limbs as he stifled a yawn. The bridge of the Star Guardian hummed with the familiar, almost musical cadence of well-maintained systems and efficient crew. Another uneventful patrol along the borders of Xinthian Commonwealth space, exactly as it had been for the past 7 cycles. Precisely as it should be. Status report, he said, more out of habit than necessity. The Star Guardian was a top-of-the-line Sentinel vessel, equipped with the most advanced defense and detection systems the Xinthian technologists had developed in their 5 millennia of interstellar presence. Nothing happened on this ship without Kalen knowing about it almost instantly. All systems optimal, Commander, replied Lyra, his science officer. The Xyler woman's crystalline skin caught the ambient light of the bridge as she turned from her station. Like all her species, her facial features remained nearly immobile, but Kalen had served with her long enough to read the subtle shifts in her posture that indicated contentment. Long-range scans show no anomalies within detection range. Border remained secure. Kalen nodded. The Xinthian Commonwealth had maintained peace along this particular border for over 3 centuries. The occasional pirate vessel or lost merchant ship was the most excitement his crew could expect, and even those were rare. The stability of the Commonwealth was its greatest strength, and occasionally, Kalen admitted only to himself, its greatest source of boredom for career military officers like himself. Tactical assessment unchanged, Commander, rumbled Grok from his station. The massive crag dwarfed his console, thick fingers surprisingly delicate on the control surfaces. His rocky hide showed fresh ceremonial carvings, probably new honor marks from his last shore leave. Defense grid at full capacity. Weapon systems in standby mode, as per protocol. Kalen acknowledged with a slight gesture of his central hand. Very good. Maintain standard patrol pattern along Sector 7. Let's. The sharp, pulsing tone of the early warning system cut through his words. The bridge lights automatically dimmed as the tactical display flared to life in the center of the command area. Unidentified vessel detected. Lyra's normally measured voice carried an unusual edge of urgency. Transit signature unlike anything in our databases, Commander. The vessel has emerged from unexplored space at coordinates 37-89-42. Kalen was instantly alert, rising from his chair to study the display. Classification: unknown, Lyra replied, her 4-fingered hands moving rapidly across her console. The vessel's energy signature doesn't match any known species or polity in our records. Propulsion method appears to be unconventional. They're using an FDL methodology I've never encountered before. The space-time distortion patterns are chaotic, almost reckless. Grok's stance shifted to a combat-ready posture, his massive frame tensing. Weapon status? Active but not targeting, Lyra reported. Hull composition includes several alloys consistent with weapons platforms. Design is asymmetrical, utilitarian. No aesthetic considerations apparent in external architecture. Threat assessment? Kalen asked, his middle eyes narrowing while his peripheral vision remained fixed on the tactical display. Unknown vessel's mass, approximately 60% of Star Guardian. Energy output suggests significant offensive capability. Grok's deep voice carried the unmistakable tone of a warrior evaluating a potential adversary. Recommend immediate defensive measures, Commander. Border Protocol 7 allows for preemptive action against unknown vessels exhibiting potential hostile capabilities. Kalen considered this for a moment. Protocol did indeed authorize such action, but something about the situation gave him pause. Have they made any aggressive movements? Negative, Lyra answered. Their course has stabilized. They appear to be conducting their own scans. Our countermeasures are deflecting most of their attempts, but their scanning technology is persistent. Open a communication channel, Kalen ordered. All frequencies, standard diplomatic package. Commander, Grok protested. Regulations clearly state. I'm aware of regulations. Tactical officer, Kalen interrupted, a hint of steel in his normally measured voice. "But I would prefer to avoid an interstellar incident if possible. Open the channel." The communications officer, a young Xinthian named Talon, worked quickly. "Channel open, Commander." Broadcasting standard first contact protocols and language matrices. Several tense moments passed with no response. Kalen was about to order a more direct approach when Talon straightened suddenly. "Incoming transmission, Commander." They're responding on one of our auxiliary frequencies. On screen, Kalen ordered, assuming the formal posture of a Xinthian commander, central spine straight, all three arms positioned in the traditional stance of diplomatic readiness. The main view screen flickered, distorted with interference patterns unlike the usual communication artifacts. Then the image stabilized, and a collective murmur of surprise rippled through the bridge crew. The creature on the screen was bipedal, with a disturbing symmetry to its features. Two eyes, forward-facing with unusual white sclera surrounding dark pupils, stared out with an unsettling directness. Its skin was a pale, pinkish tan, mostly hairless except for a deliberate growth on top of its head, colored an unnatural deep red. It wore what was clearly a uniform of some kind, dark blue with metallic insignia at the collar and shoulders. "This is Colonel Eva Rostova of the United Earth Alliance warship Thunderchild," the creature stated, its mouth moving in patterns that seemed unnecessarily expressive. Its voice was translated by the ship's systems, but even through the translation, Kalen detected notes of confidence and challenge. "We are conducting a deep space reconnaissance mission. Identify yourselves and state your intentions." Kalen maintained his diplomatic posture despite his shock. "This is Commander Kalen Var of the Xinthian Commonwealth vessel Star Guardian. You have entered sovereign Xinthian space without authorization. Your vessel's transit method has triggered our security protocols." The creature, the human, tilted its head slightly, a gesture Kalen couldn't interpret. "Commonwealth space? Interesting. Our charts indicate this region as unclaimed territory. Nevertheless, we mean no trespass. We're simply expanding our knowledge of the galaxy." Humans. Kalen had heard whispers, of course, mostly from rim traders and those who dealt with the more distant sectors. A relatively new species, aggressive, expanding at an alarming rate, with technology that advanced in unpredictable leaps rather than the measured progress of most civilized species. But the Commonwealth had dismissed these stories as exaggerations or myths. No species could advance from planetary confinement to interstellar capability as quickly as the rumors suggested. Yet here they were. "Your charts are incorrect," Kalen stated firmly. "This sector has been under Commonwealth protection for over 3 centuries. Your presence here, without prior diplomatic arrangements, is a violation of our sovereign territory." The human's facial features shifted in a complex pattern. "A misunderstanding, then? We're happy to discuss diplomatic arrangements. We've been eager to establish formal contact with the Xinthian Commonwealth." Lyra turned from her station, making the subtle gesture that indicated a request for private communication. Kayla nodded almost imperceptibly. "One moment, Colonel Rostova," he said to the screen before muting the transmission. "Commander," Lyra said quietly, "preliminary analysis of their vessel indicates weapons technology unlike anything in our databases. Their power distribution systems appear to operate on principles that violate several of our basic engineering safety protocols. The radiation signatures suggest extremely dangerous energy containment practices." Grok added, his voice a low rumble. "Their defensive posture is maintained. Weapons systems remain active. This is not the stance of a peaceful exploration vessel, Commander." Kalen processed this information quickly. "Continue analysis. I need to report this contact immediately." He tapped his communications implant. "Establish secure channel to Commonwealth Command, Priority Alpha. We have first contact with a human vessel." The response was instantaneous and clear. His orders: escort the human vessel to Kappa 9 station and hold them there until a diplomatic delegation could arrive. Under no circumstances were the humans to be allowed deeper into Commonwealth space, nor were they to be permitted to leave until properly debriefed. And most importantly, they were to be kept away from the special research facility in Sector 37 to 90. Kalen returned his attention to the view screen, reactivating the transmission. Colonel Rostova, as this is first official contact between our civilizations, protocol requires that you accompany us to the nearest diplomatic facility for proper registration and exchange of credentials. We will escort you to Kappa 9 Station, where representatives from the Commonwealth Council will meet with you. Rostova's expression shifted again in what Kalen now recognized as a deliberate display of emotion, a concept that made him slightly uncomfortable. Among Xenthians, and indeed most spacefaring species, such naked expression was considered primitive at best, dangerously unpredictable at worst. "Of course, Commander," she replied, with a slight upward curve of her mouth. "We will be honored to follow diplomatic protocols. Lead the way to your station. Thunderchild will match your course and speed." As the transmission ended, Grok approached Kalen's position. "I don't trust them, Commander. Their agreement came too easily." "I agree," Kalen replied quietly. "Establish a full tactical surveillance net around their vessel. Any unusual activity, any deviation from our course, I want to know immediately. And Lyra," he turned to his science officer, "continue your analysis of their technology. I want to know everything about that ship before we reach Kappa 9. The journey to Kappa 9 should have taken approximately 14 standard hours. It took nearly 20. The first incident occurred just 3 hours into the escort. A small probe launched from the Thunderchild without warning, accelerating rapidly away from both vessels. "Tracking device activated," Grok announced tensely. "Target locked. Hold fire," Kalen ordered. "Hail the Thunderchild." Colonel Rostova's face appeared on screen almost immediately. "My apologies, Commander. A navigation buoy accidentally deployed due to a calibration error in our launch systems. We're still adjusting to the unique spatial properties in this region. Navigation buoys typically don't carry active scanning arrays or propulsion systems capable of independent navigation," Kalen replied coldly. Rostova's expression remained neutral. "Different technological approaches, Commander. I've ordered the buoy to self-destruct as a show of good faith." True to her word, the probe exploded moments later in a brief flash of energy that Lyra confirmed contained no harmful radiation or debris. Similar accidents continued throughout the journey. Unexpected weapons tests safely directed away from the Xenthian vessel, sensor sweeps that penetrated deeper into Star Guardian systems than should have been possible, and subtle course variations that brought them unnecessarily close to various Commonwealth installations or research outposts. Each time, Rostova offered plausible explanations and seemingly sincere apologies. Each time, Kalen became more convinced that the humans were methodically testing Xenthian capabilities and responses. During a private moment in his quarters, Kalen reviewed Lyra's latest analysis of human technology and felt a growing unease settle in his central nervous column. "Their approach to technology is fundamentally different from ours," Lyra had written. "Where Xenthian engineering emphasizes harmony, stability, and integration with natural laws, human technology appears to prioritize effectiveness at any cost. Their energy containment systems operate at 97% of theoretical failure thresholds, a margin no Xenthian engineer would consider acceptable. Their weapons systems utilize devastating but unstable particle acceleration methods that our scientists abandoned centuries ago due to safety concerns. Most disturbingly," she continued, "their computing architecture shows signs of being designed for cyber warfare and system infiltration. The Thunderchild possesses computational capacity far beyond what a vessel of its size should require for normal operations." Kalen closed the report and stared at the holographic representation of the human vessel floating above his desk. He had initially dismissed humans as primitives who had somehow stumbled upon advanced technology, but that assessment was clearly wrong. They were sophisticated, calculating, and potentially far more dangerous than Commonwealth intelligence had believed. His contemplation was interrupted by the automated notification that they were approaching Kappa 9. The massive space station came into view, a gleaming testament to Xinthian engineering excellence. Its elaborate spiral structure housed not only one of the Commonwealth's most important research facilities, but also served as a key military outpost guarding this section of the border. Star Guardian to Kappa 9 Control, Kalen transmitted after returning to the bridge, requesting docking clearance for ourselves, and he hesitated fractionally. Our guest vessel. Clearance granted, Star Guardian, came the prompt reply. The human vessel is assigned to Quarantine Dock 7 Alpha. Security protocols Delta have been implemented station-wide. Station Commander Thelian requests your presence immediately upon docking. The docking process proceeded without incident, though Kalen noted that the Thunderchild's maneuvers displayed a precision that belied their earlier navigational difficulties. Station Commander Thelian was waiting when Kalen disembarked. The older Xinthian's ceremonial armor gleamed under the station lights, its intricate patterns telling the story of a long and distinguished career. Commander Var, Thelian greeted him, touching central palms in the formal military salute. Walk with me. Once they were in a secure area, Thelian spoke without preamble. The human's arrival is extremely concerning, especially given their proximity to the artifact research facility. The timing cannot be coincidence. The artifact, Kalen asked. I wasn't briefed on any special research in this sector. Thelian's expression darkened. Need-to-know basis, Commander. The facility in question is studying an energy source of ancient origin discovered in the adjacent sector. Its potential is significant. Commonwealth Command believes it could revolutionize our understanding of space-time manipulation. And you believe the humans know about this? Their trajectory before encountering your vessel was taking them directly toward the research outpost, Thelian confirmed. Now, they're here, and our orders are to keep them occupied and contained until the diplomatic delegation arrives in 3 days. They are to learn nothing about the artifact. Kalen processed this new information. Understood, Commander. But I should warn you, these humans are resourceful and persistent. Their technology is unconventional but formidable, which is precisely why you'll be serving as their liaison during their stay, Thelian replied. You've had the most direct experience with them. Keep them entertained, keep them talking, learn what you can, but keep them away from restricted areas. The meeting with Colonel Rostova and her senior officers took place in Kappa 9's diplomatic reception area, a spacious chamber designed to accommodate various physiologies, with environmental controls that could be adjusted for different atmospheric requirements. Rostova had brought 3 officers with her, a tall, dark-skinned male introduced as Lieutenant Commander Jackson, weapons specialist, a smaller female with facial features suggesting different regional ancestry than Rostova, introduced as Dr. Ling, science officer, and a broad-shouldered male identified as Security Chief Kovalev. Welcome to Kappa 9, Kalen began formally. This station serves as our administrative and scientific hub for this sector. While you await the arrival of our diplomatic delegation, you and your crew will be provided with designated quarters and recreational access. For security reasons, certain areas of the station remain restricted. Perfectly understandable, Rostova replied smoothly. We operate under similar protocols on our own stations. However, I must make an unusual request. She gestured to Dr. Ling, who stepped forward with a data tablet. During our journey, Ling explained, we detected a cascading failure in our auxiliary life support matrix. The system requires a specialized component containing yttrium-stabilized pluridium, a material our scans indicate is present in your engineering facilities. Without this repair, approximately 30% of our crew quarters will become uninhabitable within 72 hours. Kalen studied the technical specifications on the tablet. The request seemed legitimate, but something about the timing struck him as convenient. I'll have our engineering staff review this request. If the component is compatible with your systems and we have suitable replacements in our inventory, we'll arrange for the transfer. Thank you, Commander, Rostova said, with that same slight upward curve of her lips. We appreciate your hospitality. In the meantime, perhaps you could arrange a tour of the public areas of your impressive station. Cultural exchange is a primary mission objective for us. The next 2 days fell into an uneasy rhythm. The human crew members granted station access. Approximately 20 individuals rotating in shifts displayed an insatiable curiosity about everything Zenthian. They asked endless questions about technology, biology, history, and culture, often pushing against the boundaries of propriety with their directness. Several incidents required security intervention. A human engineer attempting to access a restricted computer terminal, claiming confusion about station layout. 2 crew members found near a secured laboratory entrance, apparently lost despite clear directional markers. A heated argument between Grok and Security Chief Kovalev that nearly escalated to physical confrontation. Through it all, Colonel Rostova maintained an attitude of diplomatic cordiality, always ready with plausible explanations and apologies. Her interactions with Kalin became increasingly complex. Professional discussions would suddenly veer into personal territory with questions about his career, his views on Commonwealth policy, even his family structure. She would occasionally deploy what he recognized as subtle human flirtation techniques, only to shift abruptly to cold professionalism when he least expected it. "Your species is fascinating, Commander," she remarked during one of their discussions in the station's observation lounge. Stars streamed past the vast viewport, the border of unexplored space visible as a darker region where Commonwealth beacons ended. 5,000 years of interstellar civilization, and yet so consistent. Your technology, your social structures, they evolve so deliberately. "We value stability," Kalin replied. "Progress without wisdom leads to chaos." Rostova swirled the blue liquid in her glass, a Zenthian beverage she had developed a taste for. And yet sometimes chaos drives the greatest innovations. Humanity reached the stars precisely because we were impatient, competitive, unwilling to wait for the right time according to some predetermined schedule. And how many disasters occurred along the way? Kalin asked pointedly. Her eyes met his, unervingly direct. Enough to teach us valuable lessons. Not enough to stop us. She set down her glass. "Tell me about your research facilities here. Word among my crew is that you're conducting some groundbreaking work in energy manipulation." The abrupt change of subject confirmed Kalin's suspicions. "Nothing particularly noteworthy," he lied smoothly. "Standard refinements to existing technologies." "Come now, Commander," Rostova pressed, leaning slightly closer. "A station of this size and security classification, positioned at the edge of explored space? You're doing something significant here. Between allies, a little professional curiosity is natural." "We are not allies, Colonel," Kalin reminded her. "We are civilizations in the earliest stages of diplomatic contact, and professional curiosity has its boundaries." Before she could respond, Kalin's communication implant activated, Lyra's voice urgent in his mind. "Commander, security breach detected in Laboratory Complex 7. Energy readings from the artifact have become unstable." Kalin stood abruptly. "Excuse me, Colonel. A station matter requires my attention." Rostova's expression betrayed nothing, but he noted her hand move subtly to a device on her wrist as he departed. The situation in Laboratory Complex 7 was worse than reported. When Kalin arrived, emergency containment fields glowed ominously around a central chamber where the artifact, a crystalline structure approximately 2 meters in height, pulsed with increasingly erratic energy patterns. "Status report," he demanded from the lead scientist, a Xyler named Viros. Unauthorized access was attempted through a secondary data network. Viros explained rapidly. "The intrusion triggered defensive protocols in the artifact itself. It appears to be generating some form of signal directed outward beyond the station." "A signal? To whom?" "Unknown," Viros admitted. "But the energy signature is identical to readings we've detected from deep space, from the unexplored region." "Commander, I believe the artifact is communicating with something." Kalin turned to the security chief. "Station records. I want to know who was in proximity to this section in the past 4 hours." The answer came quickly. Security footage showed a human crew member, identified as one of Dr. Ling's assistants, passing through an adjacent corridor shortly before the security breach. The human had clearance for that corridor, but the timing was too convenient to be coincidence. Locate Colonel Rostova immediately, Kalin ordered. Security team to accompany. His orders were cut short by the station's alert system activating, klaxons sounding throughout Kappa 9. Unidentified vessels detected, announced the automated system. Multiple contacts approaching from unexplored space. Defensive protocols activated. The tactical display in the laboratory security center showed 5 vessels of unknown configuration approaching rapidly from the border. Their design was like nothing in Commonwealth records, sleek, almost organic shapes that seemed to bend light around them in unusual ways. Scan analysis indicates technology far exceeding Commonwealth standards, reported the tactical officer. Energy readings suggest weapons capabilities beyond our defensive parameters. Kalin made his decision instantly. Full station alert. All personnel to battle stations. Notify Star Guardian and all defense vessels to prepare for potential engagement. He turned to his communications officer. Locate Colonel Rostova and have her brought to the command center immediately. By the time Kalin reached the command center, the situation had deteriorated further. The unknown vessels had taken up positions surrounding Kappa 9, but had not yet opened fire. Their presence alone, however, had thrown the station into chaos. "Commander," Lyra called as he entered, "the artifact's energy output has increased exponentially. It appears to be responding directly to the presence of these vessels. Or if they're responding to it," Kalin surmised grimly. Colonel Rostova arrived, flanked by security officers. Her expression was tightly controlled, but Kalin detected genuine concern or excellent acting. "Colonel," he said without preamble, "your science assistant was detected near Laboratory Complex 7 shortly before a security breach that appears to have attracted these vessels. I require an explanation." Rostova assessed the tactical display, her eyes narrowing at the unknown ships. "These aren't ours," she said immediately. "Nothing in Earth's fleet looks remotely like this." "That wasn't my question," Kalin pressed. Rostova's composure cracked slightly. "Fine. Yes, we attempted to access your research data. Our intelligence indicated you'd discovered an ancient power source in this sector, something that could revolutionize propulsion and weapons technology. The United Earth Alliance couldn't allow the Commonwealth to monopolize such technology. So you sabotaged a technology you didn't understand," Kalin said coldly. "And now we all face the consequences." Before Rostova could respond, the tactical officer reported, "Commander, the lead vessel is powering weapons systems." "Raise shields to maximum," Kalin ordered. "All defensive batteries online. Prepare for." The first strike hit before he could finish. The station shuddered violently, lights flickering. "Shields at 60%, called out the defensive systems operator, disbelief in his voice. "One hit penetrated our strongest shields by 40%. "Return fire, all batteries," Kalin commanded. The station's impressive defensive systems engaged, sending brilliant energy beams toward the lead vessel. The beams struck true and dissipated harmlessly against the vessel's hull. "No effect," reported the tactical officer. "Their defensive technology is... I've never seen anything like it." A second barrage struck the station, systems failing across multiple decks. Emergency containment fields activated automatically, preventing catastrophic decompression in the most damaged sections. "Shields failing," came the grim report. "Evacuate civilian personnel to the core sectors. Prepare emergency protocols." Kalin turned to Rostova, who was studying the tactical display with professional intensity. "Colonel, whatever your intentions in coming here, I think we can agree that neither of us wants to be destroyed by an unknown hostile force. Your ship, what are its combat capabilities?" Rostova met his gaze. "Thunderchild is a heavy destroyer. Our weapons systems operate on different principles than yours. They might be effective where your energy-based weapons are failing. And would you be willing to coordinate with our defense forces?" A moment of calculation passed behind her eyes. Under the circumstances, Commander, I believe our mutual survival takes precedence over our disagreement. Kalen nodded sharply. Contact your vessel. Tell them to coordinate with Star Guardian. We'll need to combine our efforts if we're to have any chance. As Rostova used her communication device, Lyra approached Kalen urgently. Commander, further analysis of the artifact's energy patterns suggests it's not just communicating with these vessels, it's being activated by them. The signal it's generating is growing stronger. If this continues, our scientists calculate a 78% probability of a catastrophic energy release. Can we shut it down? Possibly, Lyra replied, but it would require direct physical intervention in the laboratory. Extremely dangerous given the current energy levels. Another impact rocked the station, more violent than before. Systems throughout the command center flickered and failed, emergency power activating seconds later. Critical damage to outer defense rings, reported the structural integrity officer. We cannot withstand another direct hit to those sectors. Rostova rejoined them. Thunderchild is moving to engage. Commander Jackson has tactical control. He's our best combat officer. On the tactical display, the human vessel moved with surprising speed, positioning itself between Kappa 9 and the attacking fleet. Its weapons systems activated, releasing what appeared to be physical projectiles rather than energy beams, missiles that twisted and turned in ways that defied normal physics, trailing unusual radiation signatures. The missiles struck the lead attacking vessel, and for the first time, they saw evidence of impact, a rippling distortion across the alien ship's hull. Their technology affected them, Lyra observed. The unconventional physics of human weapons systems appears to interact with their defenses in ways our standardized technology does not. Then we have a chance, Kalen said. He turned to his tactical officer. Coordinate with the human vessel. Adjust our weapons' frequencies to complement theirs. And prepare a team to accompany me to Laboratory Complex 7. We need to deactivate the artifact. You're going personally? Grok questioned, breaking his stoic silence. Someone needs to coordinate the defensive effort here, Kalen replied. You'll take command of the station defenses. Lyra, you'll come with me. We'll need your expertise with the artifact. I'm coming too, Rostova stated firmly. If this thing is as powerful as you believe, I need to see it firsthand. And you might need an extra hand. Kalen hesitated, then nodded shortly. Very well, but understand this, Colonel. Any attempt to seize or further damage the artifact will be met with lethal force, regardless of our current cooperation. Rostova's expression hardened. Understood, Commander. The journey to Laboratory Complex 7 was harrowing. Sections of the station were already depressurized, requiring detours through emergency passages. Twice they encountered structural damage that forced them to find alternative routes. Throughout it all, the station shuddered under continued assault, though the tactical updates in Kalen's implant indicated the Thunderchild was drawing some of the enemy fire away from the station. When they finally reached the laboratory, the scene was chaotic. The artifact's crystal structure now pulsed with blinding intensity, its energy patterns creating visible distortions in the air around it. The few remaining scientists were working desperately to contain the escalating reaction. Status, Kalen demanded of Dr. Veros, who looked up from his console with obvious relief at their arrival. The artifact is approaching critical energy levels, the Xyler scientist reported. We've tried standard containment procedures, but nothing is effective. The signal it's emitting continues to strengthen. We believe it's not just communicating with the attacking vessels. It's guiding them, perhaps even powering them somehow. Lyra moved to the main control console, her crystalline fingers moving rapidly over the interface. The energy signature is unlike anything in our records, but there are patterns, correlations with theoretical work on ancient technologies discovered in other sectors. Can we shut it down? Kalen asked directly. Not from here, Lyra admitted. The artifact is no longer responding to external commands. It would require direct physical intervention, inserting a disruption device directly into the crystal matrix. Rostova, who had been studying the artifact intently, spoke up. That level of radiation would be fatal to anyone who got close enough. Yes, Lyra confirmed quietly. Even with protection, the exposure would cause catastrophic cellular damage to any organic being. Another violent shudder ran through the station, more severe than before. Kalen's implant reported multiple hull breaches in the outer rings and critical damage to several key defensive systems. "We're running out of time," he said grimly. He turned to the storage units along the laboratory wall. "Do we have a disruption device capable of destabilizing the artifact's matrix?" Dr. Viros hesitated. "We developed a resonance inverter as a safety precaution when we first began studying the artifact. It should create a cancellation wave through the crystal structure. But as Officer Lyra indicated, delivering it would require direct contact." Kalen assessed the situation rapidly. The station was failing. The Thunderchild and Star Guardian were fighting valiantly, but they were clearly outmatched by the advanced technology of the attacking fleet. Thousands of lives were at stake. And beyond that, if these unknown hostiles managed to capture the artifact, the consequences for the entire Commonwealth could be catastrophic. "Prepare the device," he ordered. "I'll deliver it myself." "Commander," Lyra protested, "the radiation levels are within survivable parameters for Xinthian for approximately 40 seconds, Kalen finished. "Enough time to place the device and activate it." "Survivable doesn't mean without permanent damage," Rostova pointed out, studying him with an unreadable expression. "I'm aware, Colonel." Kalen turned to Viros. "The device." Now, as Viros prepared the resonance inverter, a small, cylindrical object with complex circuitry visible through its transparent casing, Lyra approached Kalen. "Commander," she said quietly, "scans indicate the radiation levels have increased beyond our initial calculations. Even for Xinthian, exposure would be terminal." Kalen absorbed this information stoically. "Then we must succeed on the first attempt." "I should do it," came an unexpected voice. They turned to find one of the laboratory technicians, a young crag named Morden, stepping forward. "My species has higher radiation tolerance than Xinthians. I might survive long enough to—" "No," Kalen interrupted. "This is my responsibility. Prepare the protective suit, limited though its effectiveness may be." As the scientists hurried to prepare the minimal protective gear available, Rostova moved closer to Kalen. "You're really going to sacrifice yourself," she said. Not a question, but an observation. "If necessary," he replied simply. She studied him for a long moment, then abruptly turned and strode to the communication panel near the entrance. Her rapid conversation with her ship was too quiet for Kalen to overhear, but when she returned, her expression had changed. "We have another option," she announced. "The Thunderchild carries automated drones designed for hazardous operations. They're radiation-hardened and can be remotely piloted with precision. One is being prepared now to deliver your device." Kalen regarded her with surprise. "Why would you offer this?" "Contrary to what you may believe, Commander," Rostova replied with a hint of sharpness, "I didn't come here to start a war or die needlessly. If we all perish, the knowledge of what happened here dies with us. Neither of our civilizations benefits from that outcome." Before Kalen could respond, his implant alerted him to a new development. "The attacking vessels are repositioning," he reported to the others. "They're concentrating fire on the laboratory section. They know what we're attempting." A tremendous impact struck nearby, the entire laboratory shifting as structural supports failed somewhere below them. Emergency containment fields activated, casting an eerie blue glow across portions of the chamber. "How soon can your drone arrive?" Kalen asked urgently. 3 minutes, Rostova replied after checking her wrist device. "Assuming the docking bay hasn't been destroyed." Another violent impact, closer this time. The lights failed completely, emergency systems activating seconds later with reduced illumination. "We may not have 3 minutes, Lyra observed, her normally calm voice tense. Kalen made his decision. "Prepare the protective suit. I'm proceeding with the original plan." "Commander," Rostova began to object. "There's no time to debate, Colonel." Kalen cut her off. If your drone arrives before I reach the artifact, I'll gladly step aside. Otherwise, we proceed. As the scientists helped Kalen into the protective suit, a thin, metallic-looking garment that would provide minimal shielding at best, Rostova's communication device activated. The message she received made her expression darken. The drone bay has been hit, she reported. The drone is damaged, inoperable. We have no backup option. Kalen nodded, accepting the inevitable as the final seals on the protective suit were secured. Dr. Viros handed him the resonance inverter, now programmed and ready for activation. Once placed against the central matrix node, the darkest portion of the crystal, press this sequence, Viros instructed, indicating a series of controls on the device. Then move away as quickly as possible. The disruption will take approximately 30 seconds to reach critical resonance. Understood. Kalen turned to Lyra. If I don't return, I will ensure your final report is delivered to Commonwealth Command. She finished quietly. May the Founders guide your path, Commander. Kalen stepped toward the containment field, separating the main laboratory from the artifact chamber. As the field was temporarily deactivated to allow his passage, he felt the immediate increase in temperature, the first hint of the deadly radiation permeating the chamber. Wait! Rostova's voice stopped him at the threshold. She approached quickly, removing something from her uniform, a small metallic device. This is a personal shield generator. Experimental technology. It won't last long against that level of radiation, but it might buy you a few extra seconds. Kalen hesitated, then accepted the device, attaching it to his protective suit. Thank you, Colonel. Good luck, Commander, she replied, meeting his eyes directly in the human fashion. Kalen stepped through the threshold, and the containment field reactivated behind him. The effect was immediate. A burning sensation across his exposed facial membranes, a pressure in his chest as his specialized respiratory system struggled against the invisible assault. The protective suit sensors were already flashing critical warnings, and he'd barely taken 3 steps. The artifact loomed before him, its crystalline structure pulsing with increasing intensity. The waves of energy emanating from it were now visible to the naked eye, distortions in the very fabric of reality surrounding the ancient object. Every step was increasingly difficult, as though the artifact itself were pushing back against his approach. The resonance inverter felt heavy in his hand, its circuitry already responding to the proximity of the artifact with sympathetic vibrations. 20 steps to go. 15. 10. Another massive impact struck the station, more violent than any before. The laboratory shook violently, equipment crashing to the floor, support beams groaning under structural stress. Kalen staggered, but maintained his footing, pressing forward with grim determination. 5 steps from the artifact, the human shield generator activated automatically, sensing the critical radiation levels. A shimmering field of energy surrounded Kalen, immediately reducing the burning sensation on his skin, but the device emitted an ominous whine, clearly operating beyond its design parameters. 3 steps. 2. 1. Kalen reached the artifact, the dark central node visible just above his eye level. He raised the resonance inverter, fighting against the sensation of immense pressure, as though the very air had become solid around him. The shield generator sparked and failed, a final electronic whine marking its demise. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, cellular damage spreading through his body at an alarming rate. His vision blurred, dark spots appearing at the edges. With the last of his strength, Kalen pressed the resonance inverter against the central node and activated the sequence as instructed. The device adhered to the crystal surface, lights pulsing in a complex pattern as it began its work. Kalen turned, knowing he had seconds to clear the critical radius before the disruption reached maximum intensity. His body refused to cooperate. 3 painful steps away from the artifact, his legs gave out, nervous system failing under the radiation assault. As he collapsed to the floor, Kalen saw the containment field deactivate, figures rushing toward him in protective gear. Their movements seemed oddly slow, distorted, as though time itself were stretching around him. The last thing Kalen saw before consciousness faded was the artifact's pulsing glow beginning to stutter and dim as the resonance inverter's disruption spread through its crystalline matrix. He awoke to the distinct hum of advanced medical equipment. Opening his eyes required tremendous effort, each eyelid feeling as though it were weighted with lead. A familiar crystalline face came into focus above him. "Lyra," he managed, his voice barely a whisper. "Don't attempt to speak, Commander," she replied, her tone containing more emotional modulation than he'd ever heard from her. "You've been unconscious for 26 hours. The medical team has been working continuously to counteract the radiation damage." Memories returned in fragmented flashes. "The artifact successfully neutralized," Lyra confirmed. "The resonance inverter performed as designed, disrupting the energy matrix and terminating the signal. The attacking vessels withdrew almost immediately afterward. The station, significant damage to the outer rings and research sections. 47 casualties, 182 injured. But the core systems remain intact. Repairs are underway." She hesitated, then added, "Star Guardian sustained heavy damage but remains operational. The human vessel Thunderchild was also damaged, though their unusual shielding technology proved more effective against the unknown weapons." Kalen attempted to sit up, but his body refused to comply. "How severe is my condition?" Lyra's crystalline features shifted in the subtle pattern he recognized as discomfort. The radiation exposure exceeded survivable parameters for Xinthian physiology. "The medical team has stabilized your condition, but the damage to cellular regeneration pathways is extensive. They estimate approximately 3 months before system failure." 3 months. A death sentence, delivered in Lyra's characteristic precise terminology. Kalen accepted this information with the calm resignation expected of a Xinthian commander. "I understand." "And Colonel Rostova?" "In the observation lounge. She's been asking about your condition regularly. The station commander has allowed her limited access, while repairs continue, and we await instructions from Commonwealth Command regarding the human vessel." "I would speak with her," Kalen decided, "if my condition permits." An hour later, after the medical team had administered treatments allowing him limited mobility, Kalen sat in a hover chair in the observation lounge. The vast viewport showed repair drones moving across the station's damaged exterior, the stars beyond somewhat obscured by debris fields still being cleared. Colonel Rostova entered, looking somewhat worse for wear herself. A healing cut marked her forehead, and she moved with the careful gestures of someone nursing minor injuries. "Commander Var," she greeted him, taking the seat opposite without waiting for invitation. "I'm glad to see you conscious. Your officers weren't forthcoming about your condition." "A cultural difference," Kalen replied. "Xinthians consider health matters intensely private. But I understand you provided the shield device that allowed me to complete my task. I owe you my gratitude." "It bought you enough time," she acknowledged, though clearly not without cost. Her eyes assessed him with professional detachment, undoubtedly noting the medical monitors attached to his body and the pallor of his skin. "We both took risks," Kalen observed. "Your vessel placed itself in considerable danger protecting the station." "Tactical necessity," Rostova replied with a slight shrug. "If the station had been destroyed while we were docked, we'd have gone with it. Better to fight and have a chance than sit passively waiting for destruction." A moment of silence stretched between them, the low hum of the station's systems and the occasional announcement over the public address system the only sounds. "What were they?" Kalen finally asked. "The attacking vessels. Did your analysts reach any conclusions?" Rostova's expression turned grave. "Nothing definitive. Their technology exceeded anything in Earth's records, and apparently yours as well. The only similar accounts in our database are unconfirmed reports from deep space exploratory missions, encounters with vessels that appeared suddenly, attacked without communication, and disappeared just as mysteriously. Connected to the artifact, clearly," Kalen mused. "Perhaps its creators, or those tasked with protecting it, or containing it," Rostova suggested. "Have you considered that possibility?" that the artifact wasn't a treasure to be studied, but a dangerous technology deliberately hidden away, that your Commonwealth stumbled upon something that was meant to stay buried. The thought had occurred to Kalen, but hearing it voiced by the human made it more concrete. A reasonable hypothesis, he conceded, one that Commonwealth scientists will undoubtedly investigate, assuming they can salvage any data from the damaged laboratories. Rostova leaned forward slightly. And what happens now, Commander? With us? With Thunderchild? That decision lies with Commonwealth Command and your own superiors, Kalen replied carefully. The diplomatic delegation was en route before the attack. Given recent events, I imagine their approach will be cautious, but significantly different than it would have been before we fought together, Rostova pointed out. My ship saved lives on this station. Your sacrifice prevented a catastrophe that would have affected both our species. Indeed, though it doesn't erase the fact that your mission here was based on deception and included attempts to steal Commonwealth research data. A flash of irritation crossed Rostova's features. And your Commonwealth was experimenting with potentially civilization-ending technology without bothering to inform neighboring species who might be affected if something went wrong. Neither side's hands are entirely clean, Commander. Kalen couldn't argue with this assessment. The events of the past days had revealed weaknesses in Commonwealth protocols and assumptions that would need serious reconsideration. I've transmitted a full report to Earth Command, Rostova continued, including details of the unknown hostiles and recommendations for a defensive alliance with the Zenthian Commonwealth, at least regarding threats from unexplored space. I imagine your report contains similar suggestions? It will, Kalen confirmed. His final report, another stark reminder of his limited remaining time. The galaxy has proven more dangerous than either of our civilizations anticipated. Adaptation may be necessary for survival. Adapt or perish, Rostova quoted, an old human saying that seems particularly relevant now. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Station Commander Thelian, accompanied by a delegation of senior officers. His expression was solemn as he approached their table. Commander Var, Colonel Rostova, he greeted them formally. I've received new instructions from Commonwealth Command regarding the Thunderchild and its crew. Rostova tensed visibly, her posture shifting to alert readiness. And those instructions are? The diplomatic delegation has been redirected to Central Command due to the severity of recent events, Thelian explained. After reviewing preliminary reports of the attack and the cooperative defense efforts, the Commonwealth Council has authorized me to offer temporary ally status to your vessel and crew, Colonel Rostova. Both Kalen and Rostova showed surprise at this unprecedented decision. The Thunderchild will be permitted to depart, under escort, once repairs are completed, Thelian continued. You will carry formal communication from the Commonwealth Council to your United Earth Alliance leadership, proposing the establishment of regular diplomatic channels and potential cooperation regarding the unknown hostile force encountered here. That's more generous than I expected, Rostova admitted cautiously. Necessity often motivates generosity, Thelian replied dryly. The Commonwealth has existed for millennia because it recognizes when adaptation is required. These unknown hostiles present a threat potentially greater than any we've faced in recent history. Old policies must be reconsidered. Kalen observed the interaction with mixed emotions. The speed of this policy shift was unprecedented in Commonwealth history, a testament to the severity with which Central Command viewed the attack and its implications. Repairs to your vessel should be completed within 48 hours, Thelian informed Rostova. Until then, you and your crew will be granted increased access privileges to public areas of the station, though certain research sections remain restricted. With a formal bow, he and his entourage departed. Well, Rostova said once they were alone again, that's an unexpected development, but a logical one, Kalen noted. The Commonwealth values stability above all. The attack demonstrated that the status quo is no longer stable. New alliances become necessary. Rostova studied him for a long moment. I'm sorry about your condition, Commander. Our medical technology has made significant advances in radiation treatment. If you were to return with us to Earth space, my duty remains with the Commonwealth. Kalen interrupted gently. But I appreciate the offer, Colonel. 2 days later, Kalen stood in the station's main docking bay, supported partly by his hover chair and partly by sheer will, as the Thunderchild prepared for departure. Colonel Rostova approached for a final conversation, now dressed in her full formal uniform with the addition of new insignia, recognition from Commonwealth Command for her role in defending the station. Commander Var, she greeted him, I want to thank you personally before we depart. Your actions saved many lives, including those of my crew, as did yours, Colonel. It seems we found common ground in the face of mutual destruction. Perhaps the best foundation for lasting peace, she observed. Shared enemies have a way of clarifying priorities. Indeed, Kalen presented her with a small crystalline device. This contains navigational data for safe transit through Commonwealth space to the designated border crossing point. Your escort vessels will ensure you stay on course. Rostova accepted the device with a formal nod. And this, she handed him a small metallic object, is a direct communication frequency coded specifically to the Thunderchild. Should the need arise, for any reason, they both understood the significance of this exchange, an unofficial channel, outside the formal diplomatic structures being established. A personal connection that might prove valuable in uncertain times. Safe journey, Colonel Rostova, Kalen said formally. Until our paths cross again. They will, Commander, she replied with surprising certainty. Sooner than either of our governments might plan. The galaxy has become a smaller place these past days. As Rostova boarded her vessel and the massive docking bay doors began to open, Kalen remained in place, watching the proceedings with mixed emotions. The Thunderchild departed with its Zenthian escort, a strange sight that would have been unimaginable just days earlier. Once the ships had cleared the station, Kalen directed his hover chair to the observation lounge. The station continued its repair operations around him, crews working diligently to restore damaged systems and structures. Signs of the battle remained visible everywhere. Scorch marks on bulkheads, temporary patches covering hull breaches, equipment jury-rigged to maintain essential functions. In the quiet of the observation lounge, Kalen activated his personal console and began composing his final comprehensive report to Commonwealth Command. The appearance of humans in Commonwealth space, the attack by unknown hostile forces, the neutralization of the artifact, the unprecedented temporary alliance, all events that would reshape Commonwealth policy for decades to come. As he carefully structured his account, Kalen glanced occasionally at the small communication device Rostova had given him, now sitting on the table beside his console. A connection to a new and unpredictable future, a future he would not live to see, but one he had helped shape through his actions. The Commonwealth would adapt, as it always had. Humanity would continue its rapid, sometimes reckless expansion. And somewhere in the unexplored depths of space, the mysterious attackers waited, perhaps temporarily driven away, but unlikely to be deterred permanently. Kalen's report would warn of all these things. It would recommend new defensive alliances, accelerated research into advanced technologies, and a fundamental reassessment of the Commonwealth place in a galaxy that had suddenly become far more dangerous and complex than they had believed. His time was limited, but his influence would extend far beyond his remaining months. As he worked, stars streamed past the viewport, the border of unexplored space visible as a darker region where Commonwealth beacons ended, a boundary that no longer seemed as clear or as meaningful as it once had. Alert! Enemy warship identified. Humans are here. That had been the initial report he'd transmitted upon first contact with the Thunderchild. How quickly that simple warning had evolved into something far more complicated. A future where humans might stand alongside Zenthians against greater threats, where old certainties dissolved in the face of new realities. Kalen continued writing, knowing that his words would shape that future long after he had joined the ancestors. The universe had changed, and they must change with it. Adapt or perish, as the humans would say. The ancient wisdom, it seemed, transcended species and civilizations. In the darkness beyond the station, the stars continued their eternal vigil, indifferent to the dramas playing out in their light. But perhaps not all watching eyes were so dispassionate. Perhaps something ancient and patient observed from the shadows of unexplored space, calculating its next move in a game whose rules and objectives remained hidden from those it considered mere pieces on a cosmic board. Kalen finished his report just as the station's day cycle began to dim toward evening. Tomorrow, Commonwealth Command would receive his recommendations. Tomorrow, the Thunder Child would cross back into human space with proposals for new diplomatic relations. Tomorrow, the galaxy would begin adjusting to a new reality shaped by recent events. But tonight, in the quietude of the observation lounge, Kalen simply watched the stars and contemplated the strange paths that had brought him to this moment, and the uncertain future that would follow from the decisions made here, in the aftermath of first contact and unexpected alliance.